Check 1 2. Welcome back to Countercultural Life with me, Drew Carson, and the dude, the man, the greatest podcast producer on the planet. He just doesn't even know it yet. Nolo, what's happening,
Allegedly.
my friend?
Nothing much. Last time I was on, I had a Sonic shirt on, and I was asked to wear another Sonic shirt, so that's why I'm also wearing a Sonic shirt again. So this time I got Sonic and Garfield.
I mean, that's so different right there. Sonic
So-
and Garfield, two people that have probably never actually met. I'm just saying.
Who knows?
Who knows?
But it's the two wolves inside of you:
Oh,
lasagna and speed.
the
So there
two
you go.
wolves inside of you.
That's what everyone's got. So if I ever appear on it a third time, I'll have to order another Sonic shirt.
Which is amazing,
So,
and I
which is
like that
nice.
he's going to have to spend money to order another Sonic shirt. We'll have to make sure he gets paid well. So, great day to be alive on the Countercultural Life podcast. What we're going to talk about today, we're going to do something different. Every podcast, I know this probably bothers the young man Noah because I know he likes to be prepped and prepared. He likes things in structure and organized, and I do too. So this is harder for me. But it's harder on him than it is for me because I get to come up with these ideas. Sometimes he came up with the great idea in our first time together, which was to ask about conspiracy theories, which we're going to continue doing. But this thought that I had today is we're going to do something called a cold call. So you may get a cold call if you're in my phone and asked a random question about something that we've talked about life, about something countercultural. So we're going to do it today. We're going to do it with the dude that was supposed to be here tonight, that was supposed to be on the podcast. I'm catching him, cold calling him right now.
Yes, sir.
Who do we have on the phone right now? Cold call on the podcast. It is Dr. Jeffrey Beard. What is happening, Dr. Jeff Beard, a.k.a. JB, the guy, the man, one of the smartest guys I know. You are on the podcast. I told you were supposed to be here. But since I did not remind you and since you forgot, we're not going to talk about mental. We're going to do this thing called a cold call. You're my first guest on the cold call of the podcast. And I am going to ask you a question associated with Countercultural Life, which is the name of the podcast, which is doing things differently and focusing on the 4 aspects of a person. You've heard me talk about it before: spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. So I know this is going to bother you greatly because I know how Jeff Beard is made up. He likes to be prepped. He likes to be prepared, but I'm a cold call. Catch him. With my question tonight is, what does your faith mean to you? Because we talked about spirituality. What does your faith mean to you?
So my faith is what my identity is rooted in. Because if my identity is in Christ, then that guides everything I do from that. So my faith in my relationship and salvation through Christ is everything I do in life, because it guides every decision, every action. And there's times when I'm not in the right place to execute that as I would desire. So that's when I have to have some accountability and owning the outcome to repent and get that right. But that is about as best as I can answer that without more reflection.
No, that is money, though. That is money. I'm going to ask you another question very much tied to that. I know, JB, you have a life vision. You have a vision statement for your life. Can you give us what that vision statement is, why you are here on this planet, why you believe you're God designed you to be here on this planet, is giving you the gifts and abilities he has? What is that vision statement that you have?
If I put it in 4 words, help people reach potential.
That is
If I
it.
expound, it would really go from that to explain what that looks like and how that's executed. But at the core of it, it's really those four simple words.
To help people reach potential. JB, you are money as usual. Thank you for your time. Thank you for playing along with the cold call, being the first cold call guest. You will be on this podcast soon because this podcast is all about helping people reach their potential. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you. Love you like a brother. You know that. I will see you tomorrow. Thanks, JB.
All right.
Cold call number 1.
There
That
it
was
is.
not planned. That was JB, you're going to see this podcast. I love you, man. Don't hate me for that. JB
That's a great
always
answer.
he always likes to be prepared. So I know that he will talk to me tomorrow about that. He'll be like, dude, what were you thinking? But yeah, he is, when you're living it, what I wanted to show with that, and this was not planned. He was not giving no insight, but when you're living it, you can talk it. And I've heard JB talk about his vision before, and I didn't know exactly what it was. I knew it was about potential and helping people get to that level. But just for him to rattle that off, I believe all of us have to have that understanding of why we're here. And you heard him talk about his spiritual foundation, this background, this faith background that he had that drove everything. So today I have my favorite guest, not really a guest, more like a brother that's doing this with me.
I can't be your favorite guest
What?
because I'm the second guest.
Okay.
I'm the first guest and then the second guest, and the only other guest on this show so far has been your wife.
What-
So I can be your second favorite guest.
You're my second favorite guest.
There we
Okay,
go.
yeah, I can't.
I'm keeping you out of trouble right
I appreciate that. See, that's why he's here. He's here to keep me out of trouble.
I was behind the scenes in if anybody listened to, I don't know what episode this is going to be because we're getting out of order, but if anyone listened to episode 3 and 4, I was behind the camera keeping him out of trouble. So,
Yeah, I appreciate that. It goes to prove that you, like you heard JB talk about, you have to have accountability in your life.
Exactly.
So he was my accountability brother in those episodes. And he's going to keep me out of trouble because I did say he was my favorite guest and totally missed that my wife was also on the show. So I backtracked that statement and now say that my wife is my favorite guest. He's my second favorite guest. So anyway, going back to Noah's father is a pastor and a great leader and studies leadership. So I know Noah studies leadership. I know he understands potential. I know he's talked about identity in his life. I know he has a faith background. So talk to us a little bit. We've talked a little bit before about the spiritual component being the foundational aspect of who you are as a person. Talk to us a little bit about your faith background when you first kind of understood this concept of that there's something bigger than you. We call him God. There's something that is greater than you. Talk to us a little bit about that and kind of your faith journey.
Yeah. So off the top of my head, just thinking about it, it feels like, as far as like just being a Christian under the guise, like it's been my whole life. I can't remember a time where that wasn't something that was, whether it felt important or not, something that was drilled into me, and something that like I've never known a life where I didn't go to church. Like, and that is something that I'm lucky to have that not a lot of people have. But I think as far as like,
But
you know, I
want to slow you down real quick because we're going to get deep into these thoughts. There's a lot of people that would say, well, the church hurt me.
Yeah.
Or people in the church hurt me. And I like that you said you feel lucky. Why do you feel lucky?
Well, I think it's not necessarily mutually exclusive because I have been hurt by the church. I had people in the church that hurt me. I've had people in the church that have, my family has been hurt by people in the church, and that's kind of part of it, being the pastor and the pastor's family. It just happens, and eventually you grow past it, and God has given me other people that have helped fix that damage that those people have caused. But
yeah, I think that's a concept that people struggle with, is when they say someone in the church hurt them, they say God hurt them.
Yeah,
totally wrong in my thoughts.
But yeah, I think that factually it's incorrect, but I think at the end of the day, like, someone is hurt, and so it's really about, for them, figuring out, what do I want to do with that. And I know we've already talked a little bit about like deconstructing and about how that looks. And we talked in the episode that I was on about why people like my generation is going through that. And I do think that it is like, yeah, like I think you and I would agree, and I would agree with you. Like, it's incorrect. It's God didn't hurt you. It was people that hurt you that were either following what God said and you didn't like that, or were not doing what God said and they hurt you out of that incorrect behavior.
I think that I like to say hurt people. So sometimes
absolutely.
people that are already in a space of hurt, they hurt others. And it's unfortunate in the church setting, because in the church setting, you don't expect that. Mm-hmm. Like you expect, I think people have this conceptual understanding of, I get into a church, everybody's going to be loving and kind and no one's going to have any issues. And that's just not the case. So people that are still hurt they're in the church too, and hurt people. So,
yeah. So going back to like what I was talking about before, just to give a little bit of a background, I got saved and baptized when I was 5. So, I mean, I think that wasn't like the realist representation of my faith and when I actually found that. But I would say that came more probably around when it was probably like 14 or 15. It was on a missions trip to Honduras, and which I went on a few with my dad. And there was just one where I really felt it. I really felt his presence, and we dealt with a few things that
talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
That's a huge concept. Say, talk about God's presence real quick.
Because there's some things that I feel like are really complicated that would take a lot to describe with what happened in this trip.
But kind of just give us a summary, if you would, because when we use these concepts, we talk about God's presence. That is a huge concept. But when you say it felt different, what does that mean?
Well, I think I think a lot of people don't understand, and I think it's even hard. Like, you can say what you felt and say how you felt God's presence, but it doesn't make sense. Yeah. And that's part of the faith thing. Like it could have, and especially me, like this is going to sound very pretentious, but I'm a really deep thinker. Like I'm in my head a lot. I think that's a better way to not be pretentious and say it. Like I'm thinking about my brain a lot, which is not always a good thing, but like it's sometimes easy for me to convince myself, oh, you just thought of that. Like you thought of that wasn't the Holy Spirit, but it was a really like tangible in my brain. Some things happened and I felt that presence. And that's been something that I feel like since then I've been able to discern better. That, like, what is that? Especially like in church and in worship environments, and like times where this is something that will probably get brought up at some point, but like a lot of people talking about like worship. Just as some background, the way that I do ministry nowadays, my main ministry is music, playing in band, leading worship, serving alongside worship teams. That's what I love to do. And but I know that a lot of people are like, well, these songs are made specifically for the emotional aspect of it. And yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily not true, but I think that once you have discernment, you can see, okay, well, this is when I felt good. This is when I felt the way that I would feel at a Coldplay show. Yeah. And this is when I felt the Holy Spirit. Yeah. So I think that's kind of where, and it's not something I don't even think that's really something you can teach. I think you can teach people your experience and teach them that. I think it's more important to teach them that it's normal that you don't figure that out. And I think that it's something that, like I said, I've been in this for a long time. I've never I would say like I've never fully turned my back on God, but I've veered off and had to come back. And but that's something that, and I think I have a lot of growing to do. It's something that I've enjoyed from working on this with you. Like what I told my girlfriend the other day, I was like, I feel like I act like Drew sometimes since we've been doing this, and that's like a good thing. Like I feel like I react to things differently just from our conversations and like really focusing on this spiritual aspect, which is as I've been going, I go to a Bible school, and as I've been going through these Bible and theology classes, I'm just over it. And I have definitely lost the plot, and I don't care about the theology anymore, but it's been nice to kind of refocus that in a really practical way here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know that's a whole word vomit, but
no, first of all, I'm scared and honored all at the same time. that you take on some of the characteristics that that's an honoring thing, but also a scary thing. But it makes me, I mean, this is why we do this, understanding just that we're all growing. We're all trying to figure it out. I've been reading and studying. I mean, Noah's a young dude in college about to graduate, and I've been doing this 20 some years longer than he has. So it's like I have an understanding, and I've read a lot of books and studied a lot of theology and studied a lot of leadership content, and just kind of starting to figure life out. Not really, but kind of feel like I have a grasp on it, and I know that this foundational aspect that we're talking about has made my life different. When Noah talked about the presence of God, I have felt it multiple times in my life. It has given me insight. It has given me understanding. It has enabled me to walk into rooms that I'm probably not supposed to be in and say intelligent things that did not come from me. And that's a whole different conversation. But it's walking this out. It's trying to figure out what you're here for, what your purpose is. I would say that I'm honored to be around somebody that is passionate about life and passionate about things and passionate about growth, because I can tell that. And one of the things that I was drawn to him early on for is he has how there's certain people, and I've been around a lot of people. One of my jobs in the military was to train leaders and to determine who were the best leaders out of a class full of quote unquote leaders. And there's things that I see. And one of the things that I see, this is a leadership concept for anybody who's watching this because of leadership, is Noah has a great ability to see things and then question things and do it in a way that is not pretentious and do it in a way that is not abrasive and just say, hey, have you thought about this? Or I see this and this is good. If we could teach more people to do that and to operate in that space, I believe we'd have greater conversations and a greater understanding as people. But whole different thing. We'll get into a whole different topic on that. But
that's definitely a learned skill. That's not, I don't think a lot of people can naturally do that. And I say that as, something like I have been working in the church since I was 7. And I would say that it was not until the last 8 to 10 months that I really felt like it finally clicked for me how to do that, like the right way. And I had to, I talked to my dad on the phone the other day about that, because he's dealt with me the whole time. I've been working at this with him since we founded this church, maybe 17 years ago. And just telling him, I feel like I finally get it, why I was so annoying, why I was so frustrating to you. I get it now, and I know how to approach things differently. So that's something that, as we talk about leadership and stuff on here, those aspects of it, the practical, the spiritual aspects are practical as well, but those things that you can learn, that's just something everything is taught. You have natural abilities, you have those natural spiritual gifts, but if you just leave them dormant, they're not going to develop. Yeah. So
C.S. Lewis has a great quote in regards to teaching and learning. He says, a lot of times people don't need to be taught, they need to be reminded. So reminded of those gifts that somebody may have called out in you early on in life that you've forgotten about, that you haven't developed, that you haven't stepped into fully, is one of the ways that we remind each other, we're put here in relationship to encourage each other in our growth. That's one of the things that we should do as people. We spend a lot of time tearing each other down, and I don't believe that. I believe that's so not just divisive and hindering to people's growth, but hindering to us as a society. I believe we could really increase in our levels of humanity if we would learn how to encourage people, and we would learn how to say, hey, I see this in you, and it pushes me. I had a guy one time, I've been trying to do this for a while. It's not easy. It's out of my comfort zone to say I'm not built. I would tell you that Jesus changed my life and made me a lot nicer, because I am not built like that. But I started really, as I grew in my faith, to say encouraging things and loving things to people. And I'll never forget Mo Greenwich. Shout out to Mo Greenwich. If he hears this, he may hear this. He may come on the show if he ever comes back to Knoxville. He's in Florida doing big things right now. One of the people that I looked up to early on in my military instructor career, I said, hey man, I want to be able to teach and operate like you do. And he shook his head. He said, thank you. He walked away, and he came back 5 minutes later. He goes, and I'll never forget, he goes, I think you're fake. And I said, okay, why? He said, because people don't talk like you talk. And in that moment, it was countercultural. I knew that I was onto something accidentally, trying to grow in who I was, that went against what culture was saying. And my ability to be countercultural in that moment, not even knowing what the concept of countercultural was, but it shaped something in him and it shifted something in him. And not just did it shift something in him, it shifted something in me too. Noah, you did that for me. You did that for me a couple weeks back. You said something to the effect, I don't remember your exact words, but you were like, thank you for listening to your comments when we do an after action after service. You were like, because I'm always like, what do you think, Noah? And you said something around, and it shifted me because I did not realize this has become just the way I do things. Like if I hear good stuff and I can see somebody's leaning in and really benefiting through their comments, I'm going to get more. I'm going to ask for more. Like, and you said,
I think you should give a background of what after action is, or just kind of like talk about because I think that's a great leadership concept anyway, and just something it's how you and I are friends now. Like,
yes, yeah, that's a good point. So after action was something we did in the military. After any type of anything that we did, we would do what's called an after action, where we'd say 3 sustainments and 3 things we need to improve. So 3 things we need to keep doing and 3 things we need to improve. Now the one we're doing after church is kind of taking on the church mindset a little bit, and we just go around and ask everybody who's involved in a leadership position in the church or a part of a team in the church. We ask how'd it go, what did they see that was good, or what do we need to work on and improve on. That way it enables us to hopefully not make the same mistakes multiple times, and enables us to grow. And it's become a thing. Like we do it. Everybody actually looks forward to it after service. Everybody feels like there's ownership involved in that as a leadership concept. People take ownership when you ask them. People think they're more engaged in the process when they know they have a say. So that was Noah really quickly bought into the process and was using his years of church experience to say, hey, have you thought about this? Hey, let's do this. Hey, what do you think about adding this in? And it was all like somebody who's been in not just leadership role, like I've been in a lot of my life in different points, but also been in a church leadership role. I was like, okay, he's paying attention and knows what he's talking about. So then you were impressed by, what were you impressed by? Because you said something very kind to me, and I don't want to get the words wrong, but the concept was like, thank you for listening. Like that means a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just like, I know I've heard all the stories of specifically like the age I am right now, the age of the person, like I'm graduating a semester late, but like the 22-year-old just graduated college, walks in, thinks they know everything. And obviously like I'm really aware of that stereotype. So I try to not walk in that, but at the same time, like I think it's really, I would understand if my opinions were dismissed. Like that would make sense to me, and it honestly wouldn't really hurt me that badly initially, but it did feel like not only was what I said being listened to.
This can't be 25 minutes, because you brought in a great leadership concept right there.
Yeah.
He brought in a concept of self-awareness.
Yeah.
So there's that self-awareness that saying like, I get it if they don't take that is a mind-blowing concept for a lot of people. Because what people would say is, if they don't listen to me, they don't respect me, they don't value me, I'm not worth it, and they get offended. But that's self-awareness, even to have that understanding to say, you know what, I get it. Because I'm a younger guy, but I didn't want to be like that. It didn't matter how old you were. It was like, if you have good ideas and you're bringing value to the team, speak on. So anyway, keep going.
But I just really appreciated that. I felt like I was being listened to, not just by you, but by everybody. And it's been like a lot. It's been, we've made progress, and we've really gotten, I graduate in December, and I won't be in the same capacity that I am now. I'll be visiting every once in a while, but it'll be different. But I feel really good about where the things that have happened while I've been here, and that I've made an impact. And I look forward to, this is a little outside of the realm of the podcast itself, but as the church that both of us are involved in grows, it's setting great foundations right now for growth. And I look forward to that growth when we get a building and when all that happens. And so it's just been a good time. And I definitely look forward to Sunday mornings. I have to get up really early to get there on time, and then it's long
Which
days
says a
there.
lot for a young man, because we know people don't have, we know the younger folks that like to get up early. So I know I didn't.
I do not like getting up early.
I didn't
but-
either when I was younger. So
And now we're getting up earlier.
yes. Well, we're getting up earlier because somebody said we should get up earlier, and call time should be earlier.
Was that me?
That was you. So
Mm.
it's funny that he's saying he has to get up early, but he's the one that gave the good idea that maybe we should get there earlier so we could be better prepared.
Well, yeah, that's true. But yeah, overall, that's just why, like, I think it's been good. And I think without this experience, I wouldn't be able to go on into the next things that I'm going to be doing with that. Honestly, confidence in being wrong. I think I could be wrong now and be told I was wrong, and it would be okay. I wouldn't feel like it was the end of the world, because I know that at the end of the day, I do have good ideas, but it might have just not been the right time. So
Yeah, and I think we could sit there for a couple minutes and say that's also a level of self-awareness, because being confident and being okay to be wrong is growth anyway, because you have to understand, like, as a leader and as a young leader, a lot of being able to operate in a group of people and you know, be involved with a large group of people, especially a large group of people that are committed to a process of building something or being part of building something, you have to have confidence in yourself. And that's both. You have to have confidence to speak out, and also confidence to go, you know what, it may not be the right time for that, but I'm confident that that was still something good that I said. I'm going to hold on to that and maybe use it at a different time. And just being the self-awareness to kind of see that and navigate that environment is also very good.
I think that as we talk about, like, you know, we delved back into kind of like the deconstruction thing and all that, but I think something that is really important for me as I continue in ministry and I become the like the older young adult that is helping the teenagers and stuff like that is making sure that they have the opportunity to be wrong. And that's like, I think that's really that would help a lot with a lot of these problems, is if we made sure that these people, these kids, are getting the care that they need to grow.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I was in a unique position to get. And I don't think that should be the case. I don't think I should have been a unique position to get that. And I've seen it. I've seen how that's not. I think that a lot of people that were my age growing up in the church got that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was just because my dad was the lead pastor. So, but I want to carry that on as well. So I think that's something to think about from the church side. Like, because obviously I think that the people that, I think I would venture to say that almost everyone that has deconstructed, left the church, had one good reason, a reason that we would say that was a good reason.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that. I understand why you felt like you needed to leave.
Yeah.
So, like, at the end of the day, like, we can't solve anything by telling them they're wrong. We have to figure out how we keep that from happening, how we first stifle the bleeding.
Yeah.
Because so many youth are leaving church and not coming back. And then I think once we focus on that, stifling the bleeding, and then we have a better base to go out and get the people back.
I mean, in its rawest form, church is about community. It's about community come together with a focus on one thing, which is the worship of God. So it's that's the first thing. But it's all about community. It's all about growth. It's all about accountability. It's all about being together. It's all about being on mission together. We've missed that. I think when we don't have that aspect, and I truly believe that the local church is the hope of humanity. Jesus, of course, is the hope of humanity, but he's going to do it through the local church. So I think it's sad that we have people leaving, and I want to do my best to make sure that I'm always a catalyst for church growth and people coming back to church, because we're okay to have hard conversations, and we're okay to wrestle with scripture, and we're okay to talk about hard things in churches that people don't want to talk about, like homosexuality or other things that people are afraid to talk about. And I want to have those conversations. So this is what this is going to be about. We're going to get into this. So the last surprise that I have, and we are already over time, but this is a longer one. That's good.
No, we're good.
Is this. We had the cold call earlier.
Okay.
Now we're going to have the cold concept.
Okay.
Cold concept.
Got it.
So in this cold concept, I'm going to read a couple of scriptures, and we mentioned this earlier. And those of you who are going to have to go back and listen to a couple previous podcasts to know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm going to read 2 verses. And now Noah would say that he might not be able to remember the address of certain verses, and that's a lot of us. We can't remember the address, but when we hear the verse, we're like, oh yeah, I've heard that before. Okay, so I'm going to read the first one out of Genesis, Cold Concept. Genesis 6:1-3. So it says, and I'm going to read these section of verses. I'm going to read these other verses in Psalms, and then I'm going to get your thoughts on Cold Concept.
Okay.
Straight
Just my thoughts. Okay.
Then the people began to multiply on the earth, and daughters were born to them. The sons of... He's laughing already because I think he knows where I'm going. The sons of God saw the beautiful women and took any they wanted as their wives. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not put up with humans for such a long time, for they are only mortal flesh. In the future, their normal lifespan will be no more than 120 years. Okay, so the focus is on the sons of God saw the beautiful women and took any that they wanted as their wives. So then I'm going to go to another verse that we skip in churches all the time because we're afraid of it.
Maybe I don't know where you're going. I thought this was going into your conspiracy theory that you said was your conspiracy theory, but we'll see.
It might be. It might be. Psalm 82. So just take this at face value. Just listen to the words. This is out of the New Living Translation. God presides over heaven's court. He pronounces judgment on the heavenly beings. How long will you hand down unjust decisions by favoring the wicked? Give justice to the poor and the orphan. Uphold the rights of the oppressed and the destitute. Rescue the poor and helpless. Deliver them from the grasp of evil people. But these oppressors know nothing. They are so ignorant. They wander about in darkness while the whole world is shaken to the core. I say, you are gods. You are all children of the Most High, but you will die like mere mortals and fall like every other ruler. Rise up, O God, and judge the earth, for all the nations belong to you. So, the council of divine beings, I say you are gods, and then the connection to Genesis 6, and the sons of God saw the women of the earth that they were beautiful and went to them. What are your thoughts on that? Cold concept.
I have not ever thought about it or had to talk about it I haven't thought about it until you brought it up.
Nice.
That this could be so assuming what I know about this is that some would assume that those were fallen angels. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Correct.
It makes sense. I think it's just there's so much it's just so complicated.
Yes.
And also it's one of those things, and this is something that gets me in trouble sometimes. I have a really hard time with theology that there is no way of knowing until we get to heaven.
Right.
So it doesn't excite me. It doesn't get me going at all. So
that makes
I had a theology class last semester that there was a paper in. It was 2 semesters ago, and it was a theology class. And I opened the final paper with I don't care about theology, and I got a 97.
Wow.
So but that was just because and I ended the paper with like why that class made me care a little bit. But I like little things don't get me. So anyway, with this kind of thing, for me, I am so excited. I am so excited to hear your thoughts on it.
Oh yes.
And that's in my list. For those that have listened to the people that have listened to every episode so far, you will notice that Drew likes to say, I'm going to make a full episode on that.
Yeah.
And I have a list of them.
Good.
So eventually they'll happen. And that's one.
Like you said, he keeps me in line.
That's one that will have to happen.
Oh
so,
yeah, absolutely.
I feel weird not having a conspiracy theory at the end. So do you want me to cold call someone?
Yes.
And see,
cold call conspiracy theory.
Let me look on my phone and see who I could cold call.
Will they answer?
So we might have to cut this if they're not.
And we don't know what they're going to say. And look, I'm a Christ follower. A lot of my friends are Christ followers. But I have lots of friends from different spaces. So you could get some profanity with some of the people that I call. Just be ready. It may happen.
I'll beep it. Don't worry.
All right. He'll beep it out.
Let me see where he's at. What day of the week is it? Oh, it's Wednesday.
What would be funny is
That knocks
even
out
some
like
the
most of my
Christians I know,
people.
they may say cuss words too every now and then. It's crazy. It's a crazy concept. I'm excited.
And I don't have any. I'm looking through my text messages. It's just like
Cold
there's a
call
lot of busy people.
conspiracy theories. I can't wait. What I thought when you said that a minute ago, when we were first talking about cold calls, I already had conspiracy theories in my mind. I know like 4 people I would call right now. That would just, and it's going to be interesting. Go. I'm excited to hear who you're going to call.
Check this.
Cold calling conspiracy theories. This is crazy. We bring in a conspiracy theory at the end of each episode, get the guest thoughts on it. So since you both have already heard.
Yo, what's up?
Are you busy right now? For like
no.
5 minutes. All right. So I'm recording this podcast right now. I know I've told you about it. And Drew's here too. You're on speakerphone. But at the end of this episode, this is everyone. This is Brady, my friend Brady.
What up, Brady? Shout out to Brady on the podcast.
Shout out to Brady. So at the end of every podcast, we ask the guest what their favorite conspiracy theory is. But on this episode, this is my second time being on it, so I've already answered this. So what is it doesn't even have to be remotely accurately true, but what is your favorite conspiracy theory? Not even what you think is true. What's your favorite?
Oh, that is on the spot.
Yes.
All right, hold on just a second. I have an answer.
Cold call conspiracy theories. Be ready. If you are in our phones, we're coming for you. Cold call conspiracy theory. Lots to choose from, especially in this day and age we live.
Absolutely.
Hurricanes are controlled.
Cut the mic.
Cut the mic. Oh, man.
You there, Noah?
Yep.
We're ready.
We're here. We're ready.
Okay. I think my favorite conspiracy theory, and my parents are super big on this one, is that Bigfoot exists. I don't think that Bigfoot exists, but my whole family is in very much debate about it. So I would say...
You can't do that one. You can't do that one.
What,
that one will get us in trouble. No. The Bigfoot one's great. The one I just heard in the background. That
I love. What is that? Now I'm intrigued.
That get us in trouble.
I'm intrigued.
I'm gonna beep this. Funny. I'm gonna beep this. The Helen Keller conspiracy.
Oh.
So my thing was I used to have a shirt. Maybe we won't. Maybe we're fine.
Yeah.
I did not know that was an ableist conspiracy theory. Some people get really defensive about that.
I don't know what conspiracy theory we're talking about.
People get defensive about it.
What is this conspiracy theory we're talking about?
Do you want to explain that conspiracy theory? Because he's never heard about it.
I've never heard this one.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
It's basically that Helen Keller was neither blind nor deaf.
Wow.
Oh, or she was, and she didn't do all the things that they said she accomplished.
According to her website, Helen Keller was an esteemed communist writer. Or
really?
It was communist or socialist, but like she was like very political, and like it just feels weird that she flew a plane too. That they say she flew a plane.
Yeah, I mean because that messes up your whole child paradigm of Helen Keller and the stories that you heard.
But it's a pretty big conspiracy theory for like people our age. A lot of people think it was fake.
Wow,
But, yeah.
This is why you got to bring in different age demographics so you can learn stuff. And I like the Bigfoot so shout out to, because we're gonna have them on the show. They don't even know it. The buddies from Blurry Creatures, Nate and Luke, and their podcast that started with the Bigfoot conspiracy and now has grown into something amazing. Shout out to BlurryCon happening next weekend in Franklin, Tennessee. We could not get tickets for it, but maybe after Luke and Nate see this podcast, we'll be able to get tickets. But yeah, we're coming for y'all too in a good way.
We'll thank you so much, Brady. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brady.
Yep. And have a good fall break.
Will do. See you guys.
All right. See you. Love you. Bye.
Bye. Yes, I love cold call concept. No, what is it? Cold call conspiracy theories, cold calls, and cold concepts, where you just throw a concept out there and see what people say about it. Immediate thoughts. Noah can't wait to talk about this thought I have on the sons of God. It's
Absolutely.
going to be a good one.
So there you go.
I've heard it said just kind of as a what do they call it? Like when you get people excited to hear the next podcast, to hear the next concept, just kind of as what am I talking about? I hate when
Cliffhanger?
Cliffhanger. We'll use it. Yep. Spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, what we're getting into. We just got into spiritual tonight. We're going to get into the rest of them. Noah keeps me in line. The cliffhanger for the next episode is this conspiracy theory that I talked about, that I cold concept Noah on, verses from Genesis 6 and verses from Psalm 82, has been called the Rosetta Stone of Scripture.
Wow.
Yes.
If that that's crazy.
Yes.
This will be fun.
That's Helen Keller conspiracy theory crazy. That's what that is.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, for sure.
All right, signing out. Me, Noah, the man, the myth, the legend, the greatest podcast producer that keeps everybody in line. I am Drew. He is Noah. Signing out. Countercultural Life. Peace.